Kia ora and welcome back to Catherine Parr's Light. I'm so excited to have Deidre Wilton joining me again today for the first part of a special two-part series. In part one, we're exploring belief systems, how they are formed, how they shape our lives, and how we can shift them to align with our higher selves. We'll also look at the bigger picture of the unique purpose in this lifetime and how the current cosmic energies are inviting us to release what no longer serves us so we can step forward with clarity and confidence. Before we dive in, if this conversation resonates with you, please take a moment to like, subscribe, follow, and share Catherine Parr's Light with someone who would love this kōrero. Your support helps more people find this guidance and grow with us. And be sure to stay tuned for part 2, where Deidre and I go even deeper, exploring karmic cycles, astrological influences on belief systems, dreams and manifestations, the role of the inner child and divine energy, releasing karma through pain, future predictions from 2025 to 2027, shifting relationship dynamics, facing fears, embracing self-growth, understanding past lives, and connecting to universal laws and community. Let's settle in, take a deep breath, and begin this powerful journey with Deidre. Kia ora, Deidre. Welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's a real privilege and honour to have you here.
Kia ora, Catherine. Lovely to be here. Thank you for inviting me back.
Oh, it was so much fun the last time. So
Yeah, it was.
I'm so pleased you're here with us. Okay, so we're currently in the eclipse season.
Yes.
Let's talk into that.
Okay, so eclipse seasons happen twice a year, and usually the first eclipse is the lunar eclipse, and around about 2 weeks later it's followed by the solar eclipse. So lunar eclipses are about endings, and solar eclipses are about new beginnings. So at a lunar eclipse, things tend to come to an end, and I sort of liken eclipses to almost like a springboard over a swimming pool, that they sort of catapult you forward, and so they allow you to move forward and to let go of things and to bring endings and new beginnings to things that you might have been really struggling to do so with. And so it gives you that extra ability. So we've got to be very careful at the time, particularly at the lunar eclipse, because decisions made at the time of an eclipse tend to be carved in concrete. There's no going back from them. So many years ago, I used an eclipse to divorce on, because I'd been married and I'd left my husband, then we got back together, and then he left me, and so I thought, we're not going to do this for the rest of our lives. Let's just draw a line in the sand here. And I mean, it was great. So there was never any toing and froing after that event. I mean, yeah, things are fine between us, but we stopped doing that get back together, don't get back together thing.
That toxic loop that we can get ourselves
Yes,
in.
exactly. So you really use the eclipse energy there to do that. So eclipses, the lunar eclipse that we've just been through was in Pisces. And so Pisces is a very spiritual energy. And because the North Node is currently in Pisces and the South Node is currently in Virgo, these particular couple of eclipses that we've just had, the lunar and we're building up to the solar next Monday, are very much connected to the nodes, which means the nodes, when there's eclipses are right aligned to the nodes, they bring in the endings and the beginnings very quickly. So usually what can happen is in a lunar eclipse, something can end in your life, but it can take a wee while for something, whatever's going to replace that, to come in. But because the nodes are involved in these eclipses, it's almost like bang, bang, something ends, something new begins.
Oh,
so that's
correct.
what really important for, this is 2025 is a number 9 year, and number 9 in numerology is the number of endings, of culmination, things coming to fruition, the end of a cycle. And then next year, 2026, is a number 1 year. So it's all about new beginnings. So this is something for people to really keep in mind. Things may be ending around you, and they may be things that you don't want to end, or you don't like that they're ending, or you don't understand why they're ending, but always know that they're ending for the right reasons, and that the new beginning, because we can't start something until we stop something. And so we can't just keep having lots of doors open but not closing any.
There's only so much one can hold.
Yeah, exactly. And then your energy is too dispersed all over the place. And also, because we co-create with the universe, if you're too you've got your finger in too many pies and you're wanting too many different things, the universe doesn't know how to help you because you're too scattered. So you've got to focus on what you want. So, the lunar eclipse, so the solar eclipse next Monday will be in Virgo, which is the opposite of Pisces. And so it aligns with the South Node, which is in Virgo. And South Nodes are all about endings. And of course, the solar eclipse is about a beginning. So what we probably could find, a lot of people might find, is that something ends very quickly in their life and then there's a very quick new beginning. So, that could be anything from a job to a relationship to an attitude or a belief system. It doesn't have to be something hugely significant that everybody's aware of and that, is life changing. It will be life changing to some degree, but it's really more about, something that you need to change within you that you've been struggling to maybe let go of, and that you need that little bit of help to just push you over the edge so that you can do what you need to do.
Yes. Yes.
So,
Um,
yeah, just one
sorry.
more thing about. So these eclipses also are particularly powerful because they're occurring at 29 degrees. Well, the solar eclipse is at 29 degrees. So 29 degrees is the last degree of any sign of the zodiac. And so when things happen at 29 degrees or 0 degrees at the very beginning, they're even more powerful than any other time. So this solar eclipse is really going to be something, and it really is opportunities, doors are going to open. So please be aware of what's opening for you and take a step through that door. Don't think, oh no, this isn't for me. If something's been presented to you at this time, it's meant for you. So take
Very,
it.
very
Yeah,
much divine alignment.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. So it feels very fitting with where Earth's consciousness is at the moment too, with everything moving so quickly.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my other thing around that was around karmic cycles ending. So let's talk into your understanding around, because that all kind of fits in with
Mm.
what we're talking about right here. So what is
Yeah.
a karmic cycle?
So a karmic cycle, well, we have collective karmic cycles that the whole world is a part of, and everybody in it. And then we've also got our own personal karmic cycles that we're working through. So when there's a number 9 year, collectively, we're moving through a lot of endings. And also personally we are. I mean, most of us, I don't know anybody around me, for instance, who hasn't had an ending of some sort this year, whether it's a relationship or a job or going to live somewhere different. Everything is changing. And we've got to embrace change because it's the only constant. And
Mm.
so these karmic cycles are really revving up because we need to, as everything's changing and the world is in such chaos, what we really need to be able to move forward is with a clean slate. So
Yes.
rather than carrying all of that chaos and carrying all of that confusion, we need to have that calm within us, which means that when we do step forward or when we see what we can step forward into, there's a clear path there. It's not, there's nothing in the way of, your lack of self-worth, your lack of self-belief, your lack of, thinking that you can be successful isn't in the way. You've got to clear all of that out, which is the end of the karmic cycle. So, we owe people karma, people owe us karma. And basically, the spirit world are sick of the way that we have been, we should have evolved 1,000 years ago and stopped this karmic payback thing that's constantly going on. And so, this is our lifetime to clear all of our karma, which is why so many people are having very difficult lifetimes, and we see so much going on in the world. I mean, when we look at what's going on, if you work along the premise that I work along, that we choose our lives before we're born, everybody, no matter what they're going through at this time, has chosen to go through that. And that's quite horrific when you think about some of the things people are going through. But
Yes.
it's their part of it's their role in this play and in the healing of the planet, that they've chosen to lose their lives, to be persecuted, to be treated terribly in some cases, because that's the role they're here to play. And
Yes.
when we look at excuse me, Donald Trump, for instance, when I observe him, his role is to bring America to its knees. It's to destroy America, and that's his job. He's not the solution for the future, but he's what needs to happen now, because as long as everything can still be built on, as long as these old systems can still be in place, we're still stuck in the same place. So
That's
they
right.
all need to go so that new systems can be brought in, which is again the end of that karmic cycle of the old ways of doing things.
Yes. Yes. Beautiful. Perfect. Yeah. And I think, when we look at ourselves as more eternal souls, not just this one incarnation, it all makes a little bit more sense at having that universal knowledge and being a little bit broader in our thinking than just honing in on this one incarnation that we're having right here, right now, though it is very real. We did also want to talk into how does what's happening astrologically right now influence the belief systems we might be feeling and challenged by.
Right. So I think, well, as I observe it at the moment, there's so much chaos and so much confusion in the outside world that we're being forced to go within and to
Mm,
go back to relying
yes.
on ourselves, our own sovereignty, our own way of looking at things, our own critical thinking, because we were all born with a brain and a creative mind and all of those things, yet we've been sort of conditioned out of using them and told, our education system is very parroted. This is what you learn, this is how it works. 1 times 1 equals 1, 1 times 2. There's room for that,
Yeah,
but it's not all
foundational.
that there is. That's
No.
not the only way that we can learn, and that's where we have to start going back to ourselves. And I think we're being forced to do this so that we can look for our answers within, because all of the answers are within. But for so
Yes.
long we've been very reliant on the powers that be, the governments, the councils, whatever, of telling us this is what you should do, this is what you don't do, this is how things work, this is how they don't work. And a
Mm.
lot of it's not true.
No.
Or a lot of it can be evolved further than that.
Yes.
Not necessarily not true, but it's limited. But when you actually allow yourself to think, oh, maybe if we did it that way, or maybe if we could do it that way, then you're not only taking your power back, but you're evolving and
Yes.
you're expanding and you're growing rather than just being stuck in the old-fashioned way of doing things. We've got to get out of that in every way. And so, coming back to relying on ourselves more, that what you feel to be true is your truth, not the
Mm.
logic. The logic has a role to play in it as well. But when someone presents you with something logically, in your heart you're going, but that just either doesn't make sense or it just doesn't feel right. That's your sovereignty. That's your truth. And
Mm.
your truth is different to everybody else's, but it doesn't mean that their truth's right and your truth's wrong. It's all about accepting one another for being completely different, but coming all together to celebrate that too.
You are preaching to the choir. I am all about this. Look, how is it that the cosmos affect the way that you perceive things, though? Let's talk about.
Well, because every time a planet, they're moving through the signs of the zodiac, so it's like an energy that is sort of absorbed by the Earth plane. So as above, so below is what we say. So when it, like at the moment, so the latest shift has been Uranus into Gemini, which is going to bring a lot of busyness. And again, Uranus in Gemini is encouraging everybody to look at all the opportunities around them, but to also be aware that you can't do everything and you can't be everything to everyone. But you've got that pressure on us all at the moment to do this, do that, be there for this person, do that for that person. And it's too much. So
Yeah.
we can get pushed and pushed until we all go, enough. Actually, I need to look after me. I need to look after what's important around me. And I really do feel that the only solution moving forward is for everything to shrink. And
Yeah.
us all to go back to communities and
Yes.
villages and looking after one another, because we've forgotten how to do that. But that's the only way forward. And so with Saturn and Aries and Neptune both in Aries, they've both come out of Pisces, where it was the dream, the fantasy, the ideals, the idealism. And now they're in Aries. Okay, so how do we take all those dreams and make them real? And the only way you're going to make your dream real is to believe in it. And and everything started with a dream. Every concept, every idea, everything that's out there at the moment was somebody's dream eventually. So we're going back to dream time. We're going back to being able to take our dreams and our imagination and our beliefs for the future and create a system and concrete foundations that these can actually happen from, rather than trying to rehash the old ways.
And isn't it interesting how much the dream space is manifesting in our waking life? So there's a lot of us that are activated and having dreams and then it transforming into our waking life. So we're actually having those premonitions. I don't know. Like I'm a little bit like, which came first, the chicken or the
Yeah.
or the
Yeah,
egg,
absolutely. Yeah.
But I just feel like the veil is very, very much getting thinner around that. Now, is that
Mm.
because of where the planets are positioned at the moment?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So this year we had all the major planets change signs, which is, they all change signs in their own time, but for them all to happen in one calendar year is very, very unusual. And so there's this absolute pressure and support from the heavens
Yeah.
for change. And they're sort of creating, so the planets and the energies of the solar system and of the zodiac, they create an energy or an atmosphere or an environment for us to work from. So they influence us subtly on the outside. So like when Neptune was in Pisces, everybody was dreaming. Everybody was thinking creatively to some degree. Everybody was fantasizing, and everybody was caught up in the illusion of themselves or the illusion of something. And so now that we've moved into Aries, we've got clarity reality. We get to see rather, okay, this is your dream, what you want to do. Okay, so what's your plan? How are you going to put this in place? What structure does it need? How do you develop this instead of just sitting there going, I want to be a fairy one day. Okay, you want to be a fairy. How are you going to be a fairy? What's it going to take? Everything's possible. So
Right.
it's just really teaching us to take our dreams and fantasies and ground them in reality by
Yeah.
by using our stronger belief systems. And so rather than believing in the world that we live in now and how horrible it is and that that's our future, we've got to believe in something else to create something else. And not
Yes.
just have that illusion, that fantasy, oh, I want to live in a beautiful place, which is that Piscean energy, but
Yeah.
use the Aries energy. I want to live in a beautiful place and have wonderful things. How do I make that happen? We
Mm,
take our power back. So with
mm.
this strong Aries energy, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And so if any of you are Arians listening to this or Arian people, they find it incredibly easy to put themselves first. They've got no question about it. And so that's what we're all being encouraged to do. It's up to you to change so that the world can change.
Mm. I mean, oh, it's just fabulous. And so then we circle around to the law of attraction, the universal laws, because this all sort of, to me, that all interlinks, doesn't it? Because
Yeah.
we've got the manifestation sitting in the illusion, looking at the dream state, what it is that we want to manifest and draw in, and then the action that we need to take in order to make that manifestation ground into our reality. So we've got the Pisces, the Aries, right? So it all links up
Yeah.
for
And it's
us.
also linking up the inner child, the divine feminine, the divine masculine.
Yes.
They're all coming into power again too, because your inner child is your original thought. And then your divine feminine takes that thought, puts the emotion and the sort of the intelligence into it. How does this work? What does it feel like? How do we manifest it? And then the divine feminine hands it over to the divine masculine, who takes the action. And
Yes.
that's the roles that all those things play. So at any stage that's corrupted, if the inner child is wounded, if the divine feminine has no confidence or no self-belief, if the divine masculine is emancipated in some way, then the end result is going to be not good at all. So we've got
Not.
to really start to realign with ourselves and what feels right to us, and to action what is for our own highest good.
And so when we look at that, do we look at inner child work to start?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like the mirror work, looking in the mirror,
absolutely.
reassuring that child, going on little journeys,
Yep, yep.
meditation journeys back to the inner
Absolutely,
child.
because the inner child, when you're a child and things happen to you, you've got no idea why. And 9 times out of 10, you think you've done something wrong. And
Yeah.
so what happens is, like, you might have been a child, and when you were 3 years old, maybe you were neglected in some way. You weren't looked after. Your needs weren't met in some way. So as an adult, or as a teenager, as an adult, as you go through life, every time you experience neglect again, you go
Mhm.
back to that original wound. But what
Mhm.
happens is we feel neglected. Somebody leaves you in this lifetime, and your husband or your partner has no time for you, so you feel neglected, and you think
Mhm.
it's all about him and how he's badly treating you and how this is wrong and all the rest of it. And that is the
There
case,
was a part
but
of that.
that's not
Yes.
the original wound. And
No.
so you can't heal what's going on now until you heal what happened back then. It's just like a wound. There's an infection and a sore, and until you get the infection out, all you're doing is putting bandage and bandage and bandage on top of a sore that's going to keep getting infected.
And if we think about everything is that we're drawing that in, we're attracting that in. So what originally attracted you to that relationship to draw that
It-
part of that person
yeah,
out, right? Is
yeah,
that's
because
is that
you
wound, it's that connection, it's what
yeah.
you're
So one of your choices before you're born, if we use neglect as an example, was you were going to learn what neglect was about and how to
yes,
master that, and not go through a lifetime. You experienced neglect as a child so you can heal that later. You don't
yes.
experience it so that you're supposed to go through that your whole life, and then that's where
Okay,
the
very
karma comes in, where we've got to come back and do it again because we didn't master it in the last lifetime.
yes. So when we talk about sorry, we're sort of circling back to the karma part where we're in this loop and we continue to, and we're not actually supposed to be looping the way that we have
No,
been.
no.
Um how do we get out of that loop? Is by ending those karmic cycles,
Yes,
actually,
yes,
right?
yeah.
And the only way to end those karmic cycles is if we get out of handing our power over to these structures that have been set up to disempower us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, yeah. So that's the year. So it's end of, we've had lifetime after lifetime of karma of, I did this and now I've got to come back in this lifetime and I've got to pay it back and that person's got to pay me back and I've got to be murdered by them because I murdered them before and all of that. It's such a waste of time and energy. So that's why we're all trying to clear as much of our past lives and past karma as possible in this lifetime. So what is also happening with a lot of people, and it's not very nice, but one of the easiest ways, the easiest way for the body to release anything is through pain.
Yeah.
It's the simplest way, whether that's an emotional, a thought, whatever. Pain is the
Mhm.
easiest way for the body to release. So that's when we've got to be very aware when you've got a pain in your body, what's it actually about? You've got a stomach ache. Yeah, you might have eaten something, but what else are you also finding hard to digest in life? What can't you get over or get through? There's always something else going on.
Well, what's coming up for me with that, Deidre, is a real issue with our younger generation is that they're self-harming. So
Yes.
they're, and so that connects with that is that's
Yeah.
their way of releasing what is the emotional or mental
Yeah,
harm.
I don't know so much about that self-harm because it's more about people who are going through really horrendous illnesses, and especially,
Creating that.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially as they're going to pass, and the symptoms or whatever they're going through as they're passing, whatever their disease or illnesses they've got, is extreme
Yeah.
and they're suffering a lot. Well, every
Mhm.
bit of that suffering is wiping off layers and layers and layers of karma. So it's not
Yes.
nice to watch, and it's obviously not nice to go through. But the big picture is that you're letting go of so much stuff that you've been unable to let go in any other way. You
Well, it
haven't learned how
reminds
to
me. It reminds me of people that have children that have serious. They're born with these serious
disabilities.
diseases, or and the karma that they get to help not just themselves but clear, but also the ones around them.
Yeah.
It's very much about that collective. Oh, where's that coming?
Cool.
you know,
Yeah, that collective
those
energy.
collective contracts that you've made before you've come.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
absolutely.
then
Yeah, so when you're getting rid of all this stuff, and it could have been that in your lifetime that, what you really needed to do was learn to communicate better and actually talk about, your hurts or your feelings, but for
yes.
whatever reason you were unable to do that. But you still said to yourself or to the universe, this is what I'm going to release in this lifetime. So if I can't release it in a calm, caring, easy way, then it's going to be released one way or another. So that's
Yes.
the worst case scenario, is that's
Yes.
how we release at the end. But doing so, it means that you're clearing that slate. So your next lifetime, if you choose to come back, because karma is what's always brought us back before.
Mm.
Karma is the only reason you have to come back. Otherwise, you're choosing to come back if you want to.
Yes.
So this makes it a lot more that you'd like to think that the people that are going to choose to come back after this lifetime are choosing to come back to start a whole new world. Not
Yes.
choosing to come back to, oh, I've got to take care of that, or I've got to pay that person back, or whatever, but coming back to, with a blank canvas. What are we going to create? What are we going to be in this lifetime? And what's the world going to be in this lifetime too?
Because there's been quite a lot of talk around 2025, 2026, and 2027. So those 3 years of
Hmm.
the big shifts, the big endings.
Yeah.
What does that look like to you when you look at the
Well,
next 3 years?
when I sort of look at it from a numerological perspective, one is a new beginning. Two is when you get the balance and you bring in what else you need. Three is when you bring in the spiritual energy, the past, the present, the future, and merge it. Four is always about like four legs of a table. It's the structure that's needed. And then
Yes.
five is all about change. So 2025 is a year of endings, but it's also a year of change, a lot of change. And then when we go into to bring in the six into 2026, six is rebirth. So it's like we start off with an idea, we develop it through, and then at five, we change that idea in some way. We could change it completely to a whole new idea, or we get an extra dose of inventism or an innovation that allow us to change that idea. And then six allows us to rebirth that idea. So this year is all the changes. Next year will be the start of the rebirth of the new ways that the world can and should be operating under. But it's going to take time. I mean, it's taken a long time to get this messy, so it's going to take a wee while to tidy it up. But they
Yes.
sort of, the word is, or what we're feeling is 26 and 27 should be the years where we start to see what the new foundations are going to be, what it's
Yes.
going to look like to move forward.
And so very similar to the energy that we're experiencing right now
Yeah.
with between this eclipse. So
Yeah.
so it's almost like a little preview what the next 3 years are going to, or 2.5
Exactly,
years are going to look like.
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, again, with the solar eclipse, when you want to use the solar eclipse to really focus on what you want to grow in your life, what doors you want to open, what you want to come, that you want to start again from or develop and take to the next level. So, and it's also because this is occurring in Virgo. Virgo's like the sixth sign of the zodiac. Hang on, is it? Yeah, the sixth sign of the zodiac, which means that there's 12 signs of the zodiac. So we're completing the first six. So the first six signs of the zodiac are sort of the me energy. Aries is all about me. Taurus is my security. Gemini is my siblings and my action. Cancer is my family. Leo is my creativity, and Virgo is my organization and how I do things. So then when we move into the next six signs of the zodiac, they're the more of the social parts of it. So we're actually also letting go and setting ourselves up to move forward, knowing who we are. So we're going to start, maturing into and exploring relationships on a different level. And again, it's about being able to explore relationships with other people who are completely different to you, but finding that commonality that brings us together, that common unity, so that we can all work together. So I think that this year has been a great year for us. A lot of differences have been pointed out. There's a lot of people out there trying to push the racism buttons and the sexism buttons and all of those different buttons. They're still trying to stir up that old pot that's should have been dead and gone a long time ago. And it's just not working.
Good.
It's just not working. They're trying their best, but it's just not working.
So, talking about, relationships and what that's going to look like in the future, I've had people talk about, where you've got three people in a relationship and
Oh,
you've
yeah.
got, and there's less commitment, it's more open relationships coming forward. Does that sort of align with, the cosmos and
Yes and
astrology?
no. I think that's
Yeah.
also a choice. I think that might be an opportunity that we're given, or some people are given, if that's comfortable for them. But,
Yeah.
as we know, there's also the going back to the conventional family as
Yeah.
well, which is, so it's all of these options that, if you want to be in a three-way relationship with someone and with two other people, you go for it. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to have a traditional family, mum, dad, and three kids living in the suburbs, you do that. And it's
Yes.
just not judging either of that, because they're all fine. They're all good,
That's
as long as
exactly right.
nobody's being horrible to anybody else,
Everybody's happy in that situation, and that's
exactly.
perfect. I know personally I'm very much the conventional gal, but that's not because I'm against anything that anybody
No,
else does.
exactly.
That's just what I like.
Yeah,
But yeah, and I can
and we see a lot of writing about that at the moment. People who, we've always been like, they've tried to convince us that if somebody's different to you, then you can't like them.
must be unfair.
Yeah.
Let's create fear around that.
Yeah. Rather than thinking, oh, they're different, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like that. That's how you think. I mean, I've always been that way inclined where I see someone different. I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, it
Yeah.
really lights me up because
Yeah.
because I really don't see it that way. But it's not because I think my way's right and your way's wrong. It's that I love that that's your interpretation of the world,
Yeah.
right?
And so we've really got to get away from this whole right and wrong thing, because there is no right or wrong.
Or
It's just
me against
everybody's
you,
different. Yeah.
me
Yeah.
versus you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do
Absolutely.
you think that as where we're going with where the planets are sitting and with everything do you think that that consciousness is going to come more to the forefront now? Do you think the awareness will come?
I think that, in my years in working in spirituality, what I have noticed is it sort of goes like this. Sometimes it's really popular,
Yes.
sometimes it's not so much. And it's really on the rise at the moment, because I feel also, because of all the chaos and all the change we're going through, that people are sort of thinking that there must be something more, or what
Yes.
else is there? What other power do I have? Because that, the worst thing that's happened to us all has been the shutting down of our intuition. And the shutting
Yes.
down of people being able to rely on what they feel to be true as being true. And,
Yes.
we've been told, oh, you're wrong because you think that way, you're wrong because you look that way. And it's just, we've got to come back to actually complete acceptance, not acceptance of things that go against those universal laws, which are respect. And, even if you look at, the 10 Commandments
Do
from
unto others
Christianity.
as you would have them do unto you. Yes.
I mean, you shouldn't kill other people. You shouldn't steal
No.
someone else's wife. You shouldn't steal. They're all just basic ways that we should behave, because that's how we all get along if we don't do those things to each other. But at the same time, there's got to be room for those. I mean, if you think about somebody, having an affair with a married person or whatever, maybe they're meant to be together.
That's right.
So
Yeah.
we can't just judge everything because it's right or wrong, good or bad, black or white. That's the wo it's not. We don't live in a world like that.
That's right. That's right. And that's I think that's the thing, is that who are we to judge?
Yeah.
Who are
Yeah.
we to judge? You know, we have a very limited perspective, and even as clairvoyants, psychic mediums, you know, astrologists, we
Yeah.
do have quite a more vast way of seeing things, but we're not God.
No.
We
No.
do not have that view. You know, we can only see so far. So we are, who are we to judge? We just must accept everybody for where they are, where their soul is
Yeah.
at this stage of their incarnation process. You know,
Absolutely, and that's it. We're all, on different levels of or different frequencies, which is
that's
different
right.
levels of development. And so we tend to gravitate towards those who are on that same frequency because that's where we feel comfortable. And so
Yes.
when we like so as I kind of see it, without it being a hierarchy system, it's almost like we're all on a ladder and we work really hard to get up each rung of the ladder. And it's taking a step up the rung of the ladder is facing your fears, is having more self-love, having more self-belief, all of those things. That's when you take a step up the ladder. But the minute you do that, all of those people that were on the other rung with you before are all going, well, what's happened to you? You're not the same as you used to be. You've changed. And yes, you have. You've evolved. And you never, ever go back down. When we
No.
make progress through lifetime after lifetime, we're always stepping up. But you can spend many, many lifetimes on with one foot on one rung and one foot on the other rung, and take many lifetimes to get the big step up. But you never ever go back down. So as we reincarnate lifetime after lifetime, we've developed ourselves, and so when you find you're around people and you've changed something in you, and you feel better about yourself and your life because of it, but the people around you are going, well, you've changed. You're not who you used to be. Well, you've got to
Mm,
move away from that because they
mm.
want to bring you back down because they don't understand who you've changed into. And it's not they don't like you or they don't. It's fear. It's
You're
fear.
not
You're
fitting
different.
in that. Yeah, you're not fitting in that role that they had you in,
Mm,
and that creates an uncomfortability in them. So all they're doing, and I think I've seen this play out many, many times
mm.
in my life as well, is that all they're doing is they say, "Hey, I need you back here because that's how we've connected."
Yeah.
And
And
as
that's what
much as
I
we're going to look
understand.
at it, we can look at it as like, oh my God, they're trying to pull me back. They're trying to, and they turn it into the negative. But actually, it's, hey, but I want you back here because we were good here.
Yeah.
So it's how are we going to frame that? How are we going to shine the light on that? Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
And
they need to. The thing is that they you need to educate them on why you are the way you are now, why you've
mm,
changed and what you've changed, so that they can step up with you
that's
rather
right.
than feeling like they've been left behind. But
That's
often people, everybody. I do a lot of work with people because, to do the spiritual work, it's not about being clairvoyant. It's not about seeing dead people. It's not about any of that. It's about self-love and self-worth and alignment. Absolutely. And the only way to do that isn't through talking to dead people and listening to spiritual things. It's actually through facing your fears
yeah.
and looking to who you truly are and embracing that and making the best version of yourself you can possibly be.
Yes, going through that dark night of the soul, not
Mm.
fearing it, knowing that this is about your soul's growth and expansion,
Yeah.
knowing that it's about you connecting to who you truly are so you
Yeah.
can be the best version of yourself
Yeah.
instead of constantly looking to the other side. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to
Yeah.
look at that part of myself. I don't want to deal with that because guess what? It just keeps looping back to you
Absolutely, and
because
it'll
that's
keep
what
being
you've done.
presented to you over and over again, and it's hard, there's no doubt about
Mm,
it, it is hard work, but
yes,
the rewards on the other side of it surpass anything.
that's right.
I mean, there is nothing better than being at peace, with situations that drove you mental before,
Good, isn't it?
and people as well.
It's so empowering. It's so
Yeah.
empowering. It's so wonderful to sit in a space where someone is taking your power away from you. Sit in that space and be like, this doesn't affect me.
Mm,
You don't affect me.
yeah.
Like how yeah, it's a wonderful feeling.
And really the only way to get to that space is self-love, and actually and not thinking that you're better than other people or anything like that, but just loving yourself enough to know that you don't what someone else says to you or thinks of you doesn't define you. That's just their opinion, and they're
Yeah.
entitled to it. There's no
Uh,
that's fine. They can think whatever they want about you. You don't have to
mm,
wear it or own it.
And I think a lot of that is around, so exactly like not personalizing their experiences, not personalizing someone else's experience of you or of anything, because
Yeah,
that is their own personal experience, and
yeah,
they have only created that from what situations and what experiences they've had in their lifetime in
yeah,
order to come up with that version of you anyway.
yeah,
So how can you control that? You've got absolutely no control over that. So the best thing to do is say, does this serve me? Yes, okay, great. I'm going to see what I can learn from this. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, I'm going to walk away from it. And it's no sweat off my back.
Yeah,
No sweat off my nose. Whatever, I'm
yeah.
out. See
And,
ya,
al-
on I
and, al-
go.
and also,
Following my highest light and joy.
yeah, and also taking the time to think, okay, this has come up in my life, this issue, this whatever. There's something for me to look at there. So is there a mirror? Or is this someone just projecting their stuff onto me? Because
That's
I mean,
right.
the human brain cannot recognize a trait in another person unless you have it yourself.
Yes.
And so, usually when someone really annoys us or upsets us, if we have a real reaction to something, yeah, there's two reasons for it. One, you've got it yourself and you need to do some work on it. Or
Yeah.
two, it's a past life thing
Let's
that
talk
needs to be
about that
resolved in another
because
lifetime.
let's talk into that bit, the
Yeah, so,
past life and what we
we
can
all,
do in that situation.
yeah, so every lifetime that you choose your life before you're born, and you choose to learn things, because the Earth plane is a school of learning. That's why we come here. Nobody.